Life Chat English. Real conversations, real English.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to Life Chat English, the place where we talk about real life in real English. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Tom. We are so happy you're hanging out with us today. Before we dive into today's topic, which is a huge one, we want to ask for a small favor.
Yes, if you find our conversations helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. We want to grow this community so more English learners can find us and we can all level up our lives and our English together.
Exactly. We grow, you grow. It's a win-win. Now, Chloe, let's get into it.
Tom, have you ever had one of those nights? You know the ones, where your body is just completely exhausted, you've had a long day, but your mind just refuses to shut off?
Oh, tell me about it. Actually, I had one last night. It's like as soon as my head hits the pillow, my brain decides it's the perfect time to start a marathon.
Right? You lie there staring at the ceiling, and suddenly your brain starts replaying the entire day like a movie you didn't even want to watch.
Exactly. And it's always the small things, like, why did I say that in the meeting? Or did that person look at me weirdly because I had something on my face? It's exhausting, isn't it?
It really is. And the weirdest part is how you just jump into the future without realizing it. You start asking, what if I fail? What if I made the wrong decision? What if everything goes wrong tomorrow?
And you know, Chloe, that's the scary part. None of it is actually happening. I'm literally just lying in a safe, quiet room, but my heart is racing like I'm being chased by a tiger. My chest gets tight, my palms get sweaty. It's wild how the mind can trick the body.
Well, if you're listening to this and that sounds familiar, I want to tell you something right now. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken.
That's so important to hear. Honestly, I used to think I was the only one who felt this mental chaos. But today, we're diving into some life-changing ideas from the book Stop Overthinking by Nick Trenton.
Right. We're not just going to talk about why we overthink, but we're going to give you the actual tools to break free. So, Tom, are you ready to get out of your head and back into your life?
I am more than ready. Let's do this. So, Chloe, let's start with a basic question. I always thought that thinking a lot was a good thing. I mean, we're told to be analytical, right? Is overthinking just thinking too much?
That's a great question. And actually, no, it's a huge trap. We need to realize that overthinking is not the same as thinking.
Wait, really? What's the difference then?
Well, think of it like this. Real thinking moves you forward. It's a process. You analyze a situation, you make a decision, and then, this is the key, you act. It has an exit door.
Okay, so it's like a straight line. Analysis to action.
Exactly. But overthinking is a loop. It's like a merry-go-round. It repeats, it cycles, but it goes nowhere. You're using 100% of your energy, but you're still in the exact same spot.
That makes so much sense. It's like running on a treadmill versus running to the store. On the treadmill, you're sweating, but you're still in your living room.
Perfectly said. And Trenton says this usually shows up in two flavors. First, there's rumination. That's the past version. You know, when you keep digging up old memories to see what went wrong.
Oh, I'm a professional at that. I shouldn't have said that 3 years ago.
Right. But the truth is, the past can't be changed, period. The second flavor is worry, which is the future version. What if this happens? But the future hasn't happened yet.
So we're trapped between a past we can't edit and a future that doesn't exist. Wow, no wonder we feel so stuck.
Exactly. And that leads us to the big question. If it's so useless, why does our brain keep doing it?
Yeah, seriously. If overthinking is so exhausting and doesn't solve anything, why can't I just flick a switch and stop?
Well, you have to remember that your brain isn't actually trying to make you miserable. It's actually trying to protect you.
Protect me? By keeping me awake at 3 a.m.? Thanks a lot, brain.
I know, right? But think about our ancestors thousands of years ago. Their brains were designed to scan for danger constantly. Back then, danger meant a predator, like a lion or a snake.
Right, so if you weren't constantly overthinking the bushes, you might get eaten.
Exactly. But today, we don't have lions. Our lions are things like an awkward email from the boss or a weird text from a partner. Our brain goes, wait, this might be a threat. Let me think about it 5,000 times to make sure we're safe.
So my brain is basically a caveman trying to fight a spreadsheet.
Precisely. It's trying to think through everything so that nothing bad happens. It's looking for certainty. But the problem is, modern life is full of uncertainty. So the brain just keeps spinning and spinning, trying to find a safety that doesn't exist.
That's a really helpful way to look at it. It's a survival mechanism that's just outdated for the 21st century. So is it just the caveman brain, or is there more to it? Like, why are some people way bigger overthinkers than others?
Well, Trenton breaks it down into three main sources. First, there's genetics. Some people are just naturally more alert or anxious. It's just how their nervous system is wired.
Okay, so I can blame my parents for some of this.
Maybe a little. But then there's environment. We live in a world of social media and constant comparison. We are flooded with information every second. That fuels the fire.
Oh, definitely. You see someone on Instagram having a perfect life, and suddenly you're overthinking your entire career.
Exactly. But the third source, and this is the most important one, is mental patterns. This is basically the lens or the glasses you use to look at reality.
What do you mean by lens?
Well, imagine two people have the same experience. For example, their boss asks for a private meeting. One person sees an opportunity to get feedback. The other sees danger and thinks they're getting fired.
Ah, I see. The situation is the same, but the interpretation is different.
Bingo. The overthinker has a lens that is scratched and dirty. They see danger everywhere. But the good news is, you can clean that lens.
Okay, so how do we clean the lens? Do I need to learn how to empty my mind? Because I've tried meditation, and honestly, it just gave me more time to overthink.
Well, here's a secret that might surprise you. You don't actually need to stop thinking.
Wait, what? But isn't that the whole point?
Nope, that's actually impossible. Your brain's job is to produce thoughts, just like your heart's job is to pump blood. If you try to force it to stop, you'll just get more stressed.
So what do I do then?
You change your relationship with your thoughts. Think of your mind like a radio.
A radio. Okay, I'm listening.
The radio is always playing. Sometimes it's a great song. Sometimes it's just noisy static. Sometimes it's a weather report telling you a storm is coming. Now, just because the radio says a storm is coming, does that mean you are to storm?
No, of course not. It's just noise in the background.
Exactly. Overthinkers believe every song the radio plays. If the brain says, you're a failure, the overthinker goes, oh my God, I'm a failure. But if you change your relationship, you can just say, the radio is playing that failure song again. Interesting. And then you go back to eating your breakfast.
Wow, so I don't have to turn it off. I just have to turn the volume down or just stop dancing to every song.
Exactly. You're the listener, not the music.
I love that metaphor. But Chloe, sometimes the radio is so loud it feels like a physical attack. When stress hits hard, how do we handle it in the moment?
That's where the 4A rule comes in. It's a very practical framework for dealing with any stressful situation. Are you ready for the list?
Let's hear it.
The first A is avoid. Sometimes the best way to stop overthinking is to just walk away. If a certain person always makes you feel anxious, or if checking the news at 11 p.m. makes your brain spin, just avoid it. You don't have to engage with every stressor.
That sounds like protecting your peace. What's the second one?
The second is alter. If you can't avoid the situation, change it. If you have too much work, speak up. Tell your boss you need a different deadline. Alter the environment so it doesn't trigger the overthinking.
Okay, so change the outside world. What if I can't change it?
Then you move to the third A, accept. This is for things like the weather or a mistake you made yesterday. You can't avoid it and you can't alter the past, so you accept it. You say, it is what it is. You stop fighting reality.
That's a tough one, but I guess it saves a lot of energy. And the last one?
The last is the most powerful, adapt. This is about changing yourself. You change your standards. You realize that you are strong enough to handle the stress. You adapt your mindset so the problem doesn't feel like a tiger anymore.
Avoid, alter, accept, adapt. It's like a menu for any problem.
Exactly. But Tom, let's be real. Sometimes you're in the middle of a panic attack or a huge overthinking spiral and you can't even remember your own name, let alone the 4 A's.
Oh, I've been there. Your brain is just a cloud of static. What do you do then?
You need an instant reset. It's an instant grounding technique. Basically, it forces your brain to reconnect with your body and the physical world.
How does it work?
Well, let's do it right now. If you're listening, try it with us. First, Tom, tell me 5 things you can see in this room.
Okay, I see the microphone, my laptop, a coffee mug, a blue chair, and the clock on the wall.
Good. Now, what are 4 things you can touch?
I can feel the texture of my jeans, the cold surface of the desk, my watch on my wrist, and the air from the fan.
You can hear 3 things.
I hear your voice, the distant sound of traffic outside, and my own breathing.
2 things you can smell, or your favorite smells if you can't smell anything now.
I can smell the roasted coffee and maybe the faint scent of old books in this room.
And finally, 1 thing you can taste, or even just 1 thing you're grateful for.
I can still taste the mint from my gum, and I'm grateful for this conversation.
Do you feel different?
Actually, yeah. My brain was floating in 100 worries, but now I'm just here, in this chair.
That's the magic. It pulls the energy out of your overthinking center and puts it into your sensory center. It's an immediate grounding wire for your brain.
That's a great tool for the moment, but let's look at the big picture. Why is overthinking actually dangerous for our lives?
Because of the biggest secret in the book, action is the antidote to overthinking.
Antidote. That's like a medicine for poison, right?
Exactly. Overthinking is the poison that paralyzes you. Action is the medicine that cures it. But the problem is, when we overthink, we feel busy. Our brain is running 100 miles an hour, so we think we're doing something.
Right. It feels like work. I'm working on this problem.
But you're not. You're just staring at it. Nick Trenton says that clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing.
That is such a powerful sentence. Clarity comes from doing. Can we look at some real-life examples? Because I think this is where people get stuck.
Oh, definitely. Let's look at 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, the procrastination trap.
Okay, imagine you have a big report to write for work or school. You open your laptop, you see the blank page, and then the voices start.
Is this going to be good enough? What if I use the wrong words? Maybe I should read 1 more article before I start.
And so you open 20 tabs. You spend 3 hours preparing, but at the end of the day, the page is still blank.
Exactly. That is overthinking plus perfectionism. The fix? The 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'm not going to write the report. I'm just going to write for 5 minutes. It can be garbage. It can be the worst writing in history, but I have to do 5 minutes.
And I guess once you start, the fear goes away.
Always. Once the pen is moving, the brain stops worrying about the what if and starts focusing on the what is. Scenario 2, the social message.
Here's a common one. You get a text from a friend or a boss. It's a bit vague. Maybe it just says, "Can we talk tomorrow?"
Oh, that's a tiger text for sure.
Right. Most people spend 4 hours overthinking. What did I do? Are they mad? Is it about that mistake last week? They analyze the punctuation, the timing, everything.
And their stress levels are through the roof. What's the action there?
The micro action. Instead of thinking for 4 hours, send a 5-second reply, "Sure, what's it about?" Or "Looking forward to it."
Exactly. As soon as you send that text, you've moved the ball forward. You've stopped the loop. Scenario 3, the big career move.
What about the big stuff? Should I quit my job? Should I move to another country? You can't just do that in 5 minutes.
True, but you can run experiments. Overthinkers want 100% certainty before they move, but certainty doesn't exist.
So instead of waiting to be sure,
You take a tiny, low-risk step. Want to change careers? Don't quit your job. Just talk to one person who does that job. Take one online class.
Ah, I see. Information from action is much more reliable than information from thinking.
100%. One small action will give you more clarity than a year of overthinking.
Okay, so we're taking action, but what about the voice in our head that's still judging us? How do we change the way we actually talk to ourselves?
This is what Trenton calls rewiring. It's about noticing the difference between reality and interpretation.
Give me an example.
Okay, reality is, I made a mistake in my English sentence. Interpretation is, I'm a failure and I'll never learn this language.
Ouch. Yeah, that interpretation is much more painful than the reality.
Exactly. You need to train yourself to be a reporter, not a judge.
A reporter? Like on the news?
Yes, a reporter just says the facts. The man walked across the street. They don't say, the man walked across the street because he's a loser who can't drive.
Right. So if I fail a test, a reporter says, I didn't pass the test. I need to study chapter 4 more.
Exactly. No judgment, no story, just facts. When you stick to the facts, overthinking has no fuel to burn.
Okay. I think a lot of people who overthink are also perfectionists. They feel like if it's not 100% perfect, it's a disaster.
You're so right. And here is the tough love from the book. Perfectionism is actually just fear.
Fear. But I thought it was a high standard.
It looks like a high standard, but it's actually a shield. We think if we are perfect, nobody can hurt us, judge us, or criticize us. But because perfection is impossible, we just end up paralyzed.
Wow. So perfectionism is the reason we don't start.
Precisely. The perfectionist overthinks the first step so much that they never take it. You have to embrace the messy middle.
The messy middle.
Yes, everything is messy when you start. Your first English conversation will be messy. Your first day at a new job will be messy. That's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of growth.
So done is better than perfect?
Every single time.
This leads back to what you said earlier about the radio. We're basically storytellers, aren't we?
We really are. When we overthink, we are creating a narrative. We take a few small facts and we build a whole Netflix drama around them.
I do this with my boss. If he doesn't say good morning one day, I have a whole story by lunchtime. He's unhappy with my report. He's going to give my project to Sarah. I'm going to get a pay cut.
And did any of that happen?
No. Usually, he just forgot his coffee or had a headache.
Exactly. We need to catch ourselves in the middle of the story. Ask yourself, is this a fact or am I writing a script?
Most of the time, I'm definitely writing a script. A very dramatic one.
Well, the good news is you're the writer. You can just stop writing. You can choose to say, I don't have enough information to finish this story yet, so I'll just wait and see.
I think the reason we write those stories is because we want to feel in control. We want to know exactly what's going to happen.
That's the root of the problem, Tom. Overthinking is a desperate attempt to find certainty.
But life isn't certain.
Exactly. And that's the big lesson. Real freedom doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from trusting that you can handle whatever happens.
So instead of trying to predict the future,
You focus on your capacity. You say, I don't know if I'll get the job, but I know that if I don't, I'm strong enough to find another one.
that feels so much lighter. It's like putting down a heavy backpack you didn't even know you were carrying. So we've covered a lot, but how do we make this a habit? How do we stop the midnight marathon from happening every night?
Nick Trenton suggests rituals, especially a shutdown ritual.
Like turning off a computer?
Exactly. Our brains need a signal that the workday or the worry day is over.
What does that look like?
It can be simple. At 8 p.m., you write down your to-do list for tomorrow. You close your laptop. You maybe say a phrase like, the day is done. The rest is for me.
I like that. It's like a no entry sign for your worries.
Yes, and you can do the same for overthinking. We mentioned time boxing earlier. Give yourself 15 minutes a day to worry. When the timer goes off, the worry session is over.
It sounds so simple, but I guess it's all about consistency. You know, Choli, we've talked a lot about stopping the bad stuff, but how do we bring in the good stuff? We know overthinking makes us unhappy, but what actually makes us happy?
That is a beautiful question, and I think this is where we have to look at how we spend our soul time.
Soul time.
Yes, overthinking happens when your brain is bored or understimulated. We need to find things that put us in a flow state.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's when you're so into what you're doing that you forget the time.
Exactly. For some people, it's hobbies: painting, gardening, cooking, building something with your hands. When you are using your hands, your brain has to stop overthinking the future.
For me, it's music. When I'm really stressed, I put on my headphones and I don't just listen, I try to hear every instrument. I focus on the bass, then the drums, then the vocals.
That's a form of meditation. Music has a direct line to our emotions. It can literally down-regulate your nervous system in minutes.
And it's not just music, it's connection. When I'm overthinking, I usually isolate myself. I stay in my room. But if I call a friend and we talk about their life, my overthinking disappears.
Because you've shifted your focus from me to we. That is one of the quickest ways to feel happy. Do something kind for someone else. Your brain stops worrying about your own tigers when you're helping someone else with theirs.
This leads us to the most important part of today's chat. Chloe, I think a lot of people overthink because they are simply too hard on themselves.
I couldn't agree more, Tom. We talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to a friend.
Right. If my friend made a mistake, I would say, "It's okay, you're human, let's try again." But to myself, I say, "How could you be so dumb?"
We need to practice self-compassion. Nick Trenton's book is great for the brain, but for the heart, we need to learn to love our lives exactly as they are right now.
Exactly as they are. But what if my life isn't where I want it to be?
Then you love the version of you that is trying to get there. Self-care isn't just bubble baths and candles, Tom. It's mental self-care. It's saying no to a toxic thought. It's giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty.
Permission to rest. That is a big one for our modern world. We feel like if we aren't productive, we are wasting time.
But rest is an investment. A rested brain is a brain that doesn't need to overthink. When you take care of your body, sleep, good food, a little movement, you are giving your mind a stable house to live in.
I want our listeners to really hear this. You are worthy of love and happiness even if you haven't solved all your problems yet.
Yes, you don't have to wait until you're perfect to love yourself. Love yourself now, in the mess, in the overthinking, in the learning. That love is the very thing that will give you the strength to take the next step.
Wow, I feel much more peaceful now, Chloe. We've covered so much, from the modern paradox to the 5-4-3-2-1 method, to hobbies, music, and self-love.
It's a journey, isn't it? But we don't want our listeners to just listen and then go back to overthinking. We want them to take a micro action.
Okay, let's give them a challenge.
Here is your life chat challenge. Right now, pause. Take one deep breath and think, what is one thing you can do in the next 10 minutes that is an action and not a thought?
Maybe it's texting that person you've been avoiding. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water. Maybe it's just putting on one song and dancing in your kitchen.
Whatever it is, do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And then come back and tell us in the comments. Tell us what you did. Tell us one thing you love about your life today.
We want to build a community here where we support each other's growth. We're not looking for perfection, we're looking for progress.
Exactly. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. Your time is valuable, and by being here, you've invested it in your own happiness.
We are so proud of you. Take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and remember,
you'll handle the rest when you get there.
Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya!
Thanks for listening to Life Chat English. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe for more real-life English practice. See you in the next episode.